Here.
Bob Pollock.
Here.
Tim Rosser.
Here.
Chuck Thacker.
Here.
All are present, Mayor.
Let's all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening, and encourage those residents in the home who are watching this broadcast on either the Amelia Village website or at Claremont County Communications Channel number 22 to please contact the council members with your feedback regarding any matters that are discussed in council at any time. We appreciate your feedback at all times. And we thank the rest of you for taking the time to do this evening as well. All right, let's move down through here. First item we have on the agenda is approval of previous meeting minutes. We have two sets of minutes for approval this evening. The first is record of proceeding for May 16, 2011. At this time, I entertain a motion from council.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion and or questions? Roll call, please.
Eric.
Yay.
Todd.
Yay.
Renee.
Yay.
Bob.
Yay.
Tim.
Abstain.
Chuck.
Yay.
Passes with one abstention.
All right. Minutes from May 16, 2011, Amelia Village Council meeting are approved. Next set of minutes is from a special meeting from May 31, 2011. At this time, I entertain a motion from council.
So moved. Second.
Discussion and or questions? Roll call, please.
Eric.
Yay.
Todd.
Yay.
Renee.
Yay.
Bob.
Yay.
Tim.
Yay.
Chuck.
Yay.
All passed.
Thank you. Minutes from the special meeting on May 31, 2011 are approved. Before we move into the mayor's report, let the records show that council has received their information, the information that will be discussed in this evening's meeting in advance of tonight's meeting, and is prepared to discuss based on the packet information that they received over the week. Next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. And I think before we move to the mayor's report, first thing we ought to do is the swearing in of the new interim police chief. Are you prepared, Chief?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just
The last time I swore in, I got sent to bad places. I solved that problem. I just got to fix it. I didn't even more swearing.
just retired.
I'm indefinitely president until he gets tired of me and throws me out.
All right. If you mind, sir, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, John F. Wallace,
I, John F. Wallace,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio,
the ordinances and resolutions of Amelia Village,
the ordinances and resolutions of the village of Amelia,
and faithfully perform the duties,
and faithfully perform the duties,
all and singly, of the office of Chief of Police
all and singly, of the office of Chief of Police
and Village Marshal of Amelia Village,
and Village Marshal of Amelia Village,
Claremont County, Ohio,
Claremont County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
without malice or prejudice,
without malice or prejudice,
but with courtesy and respect for all.
but with courtesy and respect for all.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Sworn to and attested the 6th day of June, 2011. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you
Thank you very much, Chief. The next item for this evening is the mayor's report. And before I move straight down through that, I have a few addendum items that I'll just throw out there for council verbally. First thing I would just ask the council to get the opportunity Please check your email this afternoon. Something was sent out to you. Public Works Supervisor Rick Dolan have been working on a street report that was sent out today. I'd like to discuss that at the next meeting. We give you ample opportunity to review the content, have an idea how to proceed from there. Next item I have that is not in the mayor's report is we received today the resignation of a Public Works employee, Adam Day. His resignation is dated for June 21. So before we can proceed with filling the position, we need a motion from council to approve or accept his resignation.
Do we have to? I mean, accept it?
I think he's going to leave anyway.
Darn.
I'll make a motion to accept resignation. Second.
Roll call, please.
Derek,
Yay.
Todd,
Yay.
Renee,
Yay.
Bob,
Yay.
Tim,
Yay.
Chuck.
Yay.
6-0.
Thank you. One other item, just for your information on your desk this evening when you got here, there was a confidential memorandum on your desk from village solicitor. Just keep that in your confidence. Make sure you take that home with you for your review. All right, moving down through the mayor's report. Presented this evening, Monday, June 6, 2011, under the heading of meetings. I've been involved in several meetings and have had correspondence with many people on behalf of Amelia Village since the last meeting, including, but not limited to, the following: former Police Chief Suker, Interim Police Chief Wallace, representatives from Union Township Fire Department, Fiscal Officer Kevin Pyle, Village Solicitor Laura Abrams, Pat Madel from CDS Engineering, village staff and police personnel, as well as village residents. Under the heading of zoning, we continue to struggle to stay on top of zoning issues within the village. With the current staffing levels and workload, it is all we can do to keep up with responding to the residents' complaints and questions. As I drive through the community, I see many violations that are going unenforced. It's not my wish that our residents to be cited for any violation, only that there be compliance. That being said, I have growing concerns that if this continues to go unattended to, it will be impossible to get a handle on this issue. Because we're basically putting out fires and there's no opportunity to engage in proactive enforcement, I have concerns at this point that A, any proactive enforcement at this point would be considered selective enforcement, and B, as long as these issues continue to go unattended, the curb appeal of our village is degraded, and perhaps so are home values. And in an economy where home values are already affected, anything that can be done to keep... In an economy where home values are already being affected, anything that can be done to keep values up could have a positive effect, or at least not be detrimental. I'd like to urge council to explore options for solving this very important issue. Next topic on the mayor's report is the Morse House. The ad for bids was placed in the Cincinnati Enquirer starting May the 9th and will run for 5 consecutive Mondays, with the last run today, June 6th. Bids will be accepted until 4 p.m. on June 20th. So far, no packets have been picked up, correct? Under the heading of sidewalk policy and bond status, that's an issue that is still being researched. I'm just keeping it on my report so I remember to keep it on my plate so I know where we're going with that. The Church Street grant application, the street paving plan. You know about the street paving plan. Rick has given you some preliminary information tonight. Under the heading of the Church Street grant application, I have met with Pat Madel from CDS Engineering, Rex Parsons from Batavia Township, and Mr. Royer from Claremont County to discuss this project. And then the initial discussion, it sounds as though everyone is on board with being participating in this in the grant for this particular repair on Church Street. All 3 entities, the village, county, and the township would all have a stake in it. The township and the county both have very small pieces associated with this particular street. The village, of course, has the lion's share of it, so we would bear the greatest responsibility. But nonetheless, everyone sees the need for the work. In addition, you have on your desk this evening a letter of endorsement from the West Claremont School District stating what they believe is the importance in that road being repaired. In the beginning phases of construction and planning for the elementary school, it was designed that Church Street would be the parent pickup drop-off area for students at Amelia Elementary. And as you all know, the West Claremont School Levy just failed. Busing is cut back to state minimums, which means we'll have more parent pickups and drop-offs. So we anticipate traffic being much greater on Church Street now, so it's all the more reason why this is an important project to consider. I hope at the next meeting to have some updated information for council, but at this time, we're still in the gathering of information phase. It looks as though the drawings that were used in the last grant application, for the most part, are going to remain the same. There's going to be some changes, but that's in the process. Under the heading of the yard sale, it was held this weekend, June 3rd, 4, and 5. And to my knowledge, there were no complaints or any issues, and it seemed to be a successful weekend. Also, this coming weekend, Amelia Junk Day has been scheduled for this coming Saturday, June 11th. Items should be placed at the curb the evening of the 10th. We encourage residents to go to our website for details or call here at 753-4747 for any information. Next two items on the mayor's report are great importance and will require, I believe, lengthy discussion. I'll begin with the first item, this preliminary meeting with the Claremont County Sheriff's Office. Tonight, council members will begin the initial discussion of the preliminary official proposal from the Claremont County Sheriff's Office. The proposed documents are attached in council's packets this evening. This time, I would open the floor to council for any discussion on the issue of maintaining the Amelia Village Police Department versus considering the option of contracting with the Claremont County Sheriff's Department.
Mayor, I feel that we need to get a list of questions together in order to present them to the solicitor with clarification on a few things.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, aren't we going to, excuse me, aren't we going to try to, with our new chief, to see if anything could be worked out from his standpoint, kind of
Couple different options.
delay it a little while until we at least see what he might want to throw in the pot.
If you want to make that by way of a motion, I will say, and I don't want to put words in Chief Wallace's mouth, the type of leadership and the direction that he takes in the police department as interim police chief is going to be dependent upon the direction of council. He may prioritize things differently depending on council's direction. So I would urge council to, at its earliest convenience, make some sort of decision one way or the other. Otherwise, we will tie the hands of our police chief and also continue to.
Well, the proposal, as it's stated, which is fine, not effective till 1st of January, is it not?
And it is just a proposal, but
I mean, that's a proposal that says
I can't. It wouldn't be effective till January 1 as of now, but I would assume that the longer you put off that decision, the longer it would take to implement the change.
Yeah, I can go along with that.
So if you make the decision 2 months from now, it might be March.
I just thought we ought to give the new chief a chance to work with our officers in some way or another to try to hold on to ourselves before we have to bite the bullet. That's pretty clever, bite the bullet.
I thought we hired a new chief to do an overall review of the department to give us his best indication on where we could possibly save money or cut back or maybe do some different things with the officers. And once we get, like Derek said, get some questions to shoot back to him, then I think then I would be able to make a decision.
Are there questions you have directed towards the police chief?
It's going to be of the overall department.
Derek?
Well, I've got for both. I guess the first thing is along Todd's discussion is the police chief, our new police chief, what he feels time frame wise that he needs to analyze what we've got going on with the police budget and things. So, and then I also have some questions about the proposal from the Claremont County Sheriff's Department. So have you discussed with the chief any kind of time frame for his animal?
Well, I won't speak for the chief. I'll ask the chief to speak for himself.
Okay.
It seems to me that I think he's pretty anxious to know where you're going and to make a big decision for him. But I'll allow the chief to respond. Would you mind stepping forward, Chief?
Not good. As I see this in a big picture thing, there's two directions that we can go, and that's what I need to start working towards. If we're going to stay here with Amelia, we need to kind of mirror, for lack of a better word, the proposal put out by the Sheriff's Department of 4 to 5 full-time, boots in the street officers. That way we're more of a apple-to-apple comparison. So we've had a couple of resignations with the sergeants and that. So if we're going to try to pursue and get back into doing some good, solid business, I'd like to talk about maybe finding an assistant somewhere, with boots on the ground, first line supervisor to kind of help run the show, so to speak. Spent a lot of time talking to the young lads and ladies here, both before my official appointment and after. Some I've known from my time in the city when they were on police explorers, others from when they were students in the academy. I think we've got a really good core group here that I think once we get them going, the biggest issue would be kind of like going back into it. If we're going to get back to the basics and good solid basic items. If we're not going to work on keeping the organization rock solid for your good local service, then we've got to start planning for the eventual shutdown. Meaning we're going to have to come up with turnover lists and procedures and policies so that when the Sheriff's Department does come in, we can hit the ground running, because there's a lot of turnover in past reports, evidence, tons of equipment that were either signed out for from the state of Ohio, village funds, or federal government. So it's a very time-consuming process, no matter which way we go. So that's the direction I'm kind of looking for. And also, I mean, I'm in great shape. I'm an old retiree. But we've got our younger generation here, with house payments and bills and wives and kiddies and all that. And in today's economy, they just can't go and uproot one and just fall into another one. So that's a real mental concern and stressor on them and their families. So the sooner we can get an answer, one way or the other, but it also not only gives me a direction ahead, it also gives them a direction and a hint as to what's coming down the road, what they need to prepare for in the future. I hope that kind of hip pocket answer helped.
Well, it helps.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Chief,
Go ahead, Tim.
what kind of timeline can we expect, for you to give us an evaluation of our current police department to see exactly what your thoughts are and, what, kind of police department can we have in the future?
Well, one thing that came back from the sheriff's proposal as I was perusing through that is their agreement, shows that they work a 12-hour relief. When I was still doing that out at Bethel, we had a schedule I used to work years ago, and it was god-awful. Council up there was gracious enough to let me have one guy, and when we rolled into that one guy, I could actually let the guys get into a 12-hour relief, and that just made them ecstatic. Made them happier. It was kind of like giving them a hidden pay raise because it cut their transportation costs back and forth to work. Saved me a lot of money because I cut myself by one shift change a day. And when you start talking shift change, I mean, you got guys coming in, got to offload, got to brief their oncoming relief. The oncoming guys got to load up, absorb all that stuff. It could take half hour, 45 minutes. So I eliminated that throughout the day. It would also give the fellows more time to do some case follow-up. Many times if you're getting off at 3:30, I mean, the witnesses, they're not home till 5, 6, 7. So depending on when our shift change would be here, let's just say the guys wanted to do it from, say, 8A to 8P, what were some targets of opportunity there? And we could also kind of marry it up a little bit with the school things that we'd always have officers during their busy times, like drop off pickups, things like that. So we could probably create a little bit more of an efficient operation just by, like I said, throwing out that concept of a 12-hour relief. Like I said, I was in there scratching one. I got one that looks like that worked pretty darn good. The other one, I don't know what I was thinking, probably spending too much time down here today. The numbers just fried, and all of a sudden I just thought, man, this is looking good. But when I really got into it, I said, this poor fool will be on for 24 hours straight with that time out. So we're going to try this again tomorrow and do scratching today. But hopefully, just some of the concepts, give you an idea of kind of what I've been, bouncing around with. Haven't really consulted the young lads yet officially. I guess know I am. But the response to a potential change in scheduling has been warmly received, but yet hesitantly because they haven't seen it in black and white. And 12-hour shifts would be even nicer because every other weekend, if I got one more body, they have a weekend off. They never had that before here. They have a 3-day weekend. Like I said, they never had.
One of the urgencies, Chief, if you don't mind if I
Sure.
interrupt a little bit, one of the urgencies in just giving the Chief some inclination which way council is heading is quite simply, in order to accomplish something like the 12-hour shift, which provides greater coverage during the peak times and all the other benefits the Chief just alluded to. I'm not sure we can accomplish that exactly now at the reduced staff that we have now. If you'll recall, with 2 sergeants in the last year retire, neither of which has been replaced. That's 2 patrol officers on the street, or as the Chief says, boots on the street. That's 2 less sets of boots on the street, and we're continuing to try to cover the same amount of ground. So I'm not in a position to tell council to hurry up, but I am in a position, I'm just saying, there's a lot of factors to consider, and it's not just the numbers, but the logistical issues too, Chief.
Oh, you didn't let me spout part for you.
Oh, okay.
I've also got part-timers. As we take the core group of the full-time there, boom, 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 and then we get our part-timers, which we don't totally own here because they've got obligations to, I'll say, a real job that pays all their benefits and such. So we take that core group of full-time folks, and then we take our part-timers and we start plugging them into times of high activity. For example, 3P to 11, 4P to midnight. During the high volume time, it's normally evenings and such, because people aren't working, people are at home, they're not going to bed yet. So we could take those guys and they could concentrate on there. We could take a guy and plug him in for sick days, vacations, and things like that, maybe save a little down the road. So it's kind of like part A, part B mesh of personnel. That's what I'm trying to look for.
Chief, I think one of our main concerns is budgetary. And I understand that you're new and didn't know if you would set up an appointment with Mr. Pyle in order to set up a budget meeting just to see and start analyzing the numbers so that you can be familiar with them.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's one of the things that's going to drive our decision is where do you think the budget can change?
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin's been busier than a one on paper here because today was the payday computations. So today we all had to get all of our pay sheets into Kevin, so because he's got a really strong deadline with the direct deposits on the banks. So I figured, well, we'll get this done because it's important to get the people paid, and then when we get that accomplished, then it's time to sit down with Kevin and see what we're looking at.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we're really looking for input from a new face, somebody looking fresh at the numbers, to get back to us and say, here's where we can make some changes.
Sure.
We can do this, or we can't do this. And I think that's kind of what we're waiting on to help drive our decision.
Because we have the proposals for the county, but we need to see, again, what type of police department, if we keep our current Amelia police, and, and see what the cost might be. And, and for the coverage. And I think that's the best way council can make the decision.
No, to me, the only thing that I really need to know is if you guys can make it on what you have and give us adequate police coverage. That's really, if we're not able to meet standards, then, like I said, if you can meet, as long as we can cover with what we have, I'm more inclined to stick with what we have now than contract with the county. So if you need any direction or anything like that from where council's leaning, that's where I'm leaning. I would, like I said, I would much rather stick with our own if we can do it.
Oh, certainly. Like I said, once Kevin gets a little free time here, all this payroll stuff, I'll be his best friend. Maybe. I'll plug you up.
Now that we put it all on you. That's what we hired you for.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Welcome.
Seems like things kind of got really rushed here tonight, and you just came aboard, and already you've got all these people want to know what's going on, and we still got a lot of hard facts that we've got to find out before we can do that decision.
In a worse situation, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we're relying on your experience from past situations. So.
Oh, God helps. But I hope that kind of gave you a brief idea of where my mind's going right now, to kind of give you a good insight of what I'm feeling, what I've got right now.
Anybody else have any questions? I would point out, you can find it in your council packets. There is I asked Kevin to do an analysis for me. It's in your packets this evening. It's an apples to apples comparison for the Cameron County Sheriff's Office versus Amelia Police Department costs. That's on your desk this evening. It was actually in your packets over the weekend. Do you have any comments that you'd like to add, Kevin?
The one thing I tried to do, I'm guessing the mayor gave you all 3 pages. The one page is basically taken directly from the proposal given by Claremont County. I then went into the accounting system and pulled real numbers from 2011. As far as the fringe benefits, the one thing that kind of surprises me is that the sheriff is proposing that the deputies go under the OPERS, which is a little over 23% county share. So for every dollar that gets paid, the county has to come up with 23 cents for their pension. Currently, the village is with the Ohio Police and Firemen's Pension Fund, which is only 19.5%. So you're looking at 3.5% difference, which over the long haul can add up. The other things, as far as insurance and such, I went through every current officer that has insurance, and whoever had the highest monthly premium, that's the one I used. Because we have no idea what's going to happen if we do hire other officers. You know, may get someone with a family, may get someone that's single. One of the officers here may get married or divorced, who knows. So I decided I'd go on the high end for everything. The interesting thing is that the sheriff is proposing roughly 150 hours overtime every year. When I went through the payrolls for the last 3 years, the average annual overtime is 156 hours. So what he's proposing is basically what's already happening here in Amelia. We can almost get one more full-time officer just by eliminating overtime. I don't think that's very practical because no matter what, you're going to have overtime, you know, especially, as the chief was saying, you have someone doing an 8 to 8 shift and someone T-bones someone when the Kroger comes up. Well, there's no way that he's going to get done at 8 o'clock. And then the third page is where I took the numbers and just compared them to each other. I didn't add and subtract. I just let council members see here's the difference. I've left messages with 3 people in Claremont County to try to get some more information, in particular on vehicle expense dispatching. I forgot the third item, but
The third item is percentage of
Yeah.
citations.
but of those, the only one I've gotten back is on the fines and forfeitures. If the sheriff arrests someone for a moving violation, what have you, they will cite them under the Ohio Revised Code. By statute, 50% of that money goes to Claremont County's road fund, 50% goes to the law library. 50 plus 50 is 100, which means Amelia gets nothing. Currently, Amelia's been averaging a net of around $20,000 to $25,000 from the mayor's court. And later on, I want to talk about the village budget, but that $20,000 to $25,000 can literally make or break the village.
On that 20 to 25,000, is that actual money made, or that's actual just what came into the court?
That's
that
the
doesn't
net.
include
That's net of
paying everything out.
all fines, forfeitures, costs, less payroll, benefits, disbursements to other jurisdictions and whatnot.
Do we have to pay the officers hourly, or can they be put on salary?
That's a question for the solicitor. I've
Because-
never heard of a police officer, being on salary. The supervisory staff, yeah. But then that could open a whole other can of worms, depending on, well, frankly, it depends on whether or not they're serving at the pleasure of the village, if they're under contract, or just what. So, as I
Well,
said,
my
it's-
thought is if they were paid salary, that would cut us back on our overtime. Because no matter what they work, they would, it's just a thought to throw out there to cut back on the overtime.
My personal feeling is that
Cheap.
where you go salary,
In my experience, that can't happen.
Okay.
Federal
Fair Labor Standards.
Standards.
Okay.
Takes care of the lower rung folks, people like me, we're salaried maybe we get to work as much as we want, and we have a little bit more flexibility. But having just the proper mix of folks out there is the best way to reduce overtime. The comment Mayor brought up about the guy getting T-boned, well, it's simply a matter of if it happens during, again, the right time, you know, that little power shift with the part-timer. They're just as skilled on these crash reports. One car, he'll be the first responder, the next car roll up, he'll take the report, the part-time guy or something. And then the other guy can just head on back. So it's really how this flows, if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And it looks like to me, in looking at the cost comparison between Montgomery County Sheriff's Department versus Amelia costs for 5 officers versus 5 deputies. If you look at that sheet, and correct my math in case I'm wrong, it looks like in year 2012, it looks like there's roughly $38,000 in difference between Amelia versus Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. It looks as though Amelia cost is about $38,000 cheaper. Again, this is apples to apples. It looks like in 2013, looks like roughly $60,000 in difference. Amelia costs being lower than Montgomery County Sheriff's Department costs. And in 2014, it looks as though there's about $105,000 in difference. At first glance, am I right there, Kevin?
Another thing I did is it says on the top of the page for Amelia, I just threw in a 3% growth factor in wages. For some of the other items, like the insurance, I didn't put in any growth factor. But if you want to play it safe, put 10 to 15% on top of each insurance item. And that'll get you a little closer to reality.
I think there's also some other hidden things in there, such as their supervisor kind of takes the place of our police chief, we'll say. So that's something they're not really charging for that we can show in there. And we're looking at replacing, say, the whole police department, which runs $580,000 versus $270,000.
And you're also looking at startup costs,
Correct,
additional
correct.
cash
Yeah.
outlays. And
And, I ignored that just to try to even things out.
Right, but there's some things there, as we get through this, get down to the meat and potatoes, and throw our questions out there. That's one of the things that jumped out at me is, sure, this is officer to officer, but we're talking about, in 2013, after your initial startup costs, we're replacing virtually $600,000 police department for $342,000. Of course, you still have your $20,000 a year in fuel bills.
yeah, I mean,
And your repair costs.
And that's one thing I'm
So-
trying to find out. I haven't gotten back, or no one's gotten back to me yet from the
So
county.
say that's $100,000 on top of that, so you're at $442 versus $580.
Well, I'm confused because I thought when we contacted the county was to use our cars, so we're still going to have all the vehicle maintenance costs, correct?
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying.
So
Add
then it's, I mean,
$100,000
that
to
last
that.
column there, vehicle expense, that's a moot point because it should be at least equal, if not greater than, with the county because we're going to maintain the cars. They're not going to give us any money for that.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
honestly, looking at this and seeing how it's going to cost more to staff it with Claremont County, I don't even know why we're pursuing it any further.
It's not.
Because that's what I'm getting here, right? Because
You're looking at officer to
To
officer
officer.
comparison.
Yeah. The only
That's
difference
kind of
is-
what I'm putting out there that we need to look at.
Because the only thing missing, you said, is a chief. Which is what? But isn't he counting in our deputies too? You left him completely
No, the
out?
supervisor
The chief is what, 48 right now? The current salary, but the new chief may or may not be at the same. And you can put 30 to 40% on top of that for fridges and bennies without even trying, so.
So that's what I'm getting at is if you can't really, it's hard to do an officer to officer comparison. You've got to look at sheriff's department being a complete police department for $342,000 plus $20,000 for gasoline and any repair bills versus our almost $600,000 that we currently spend.
Yeah, but 600,000 is for more officers. It's for more officers and.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, by the time I get to 2014, I mean, it's a wash. Because you're looking at, what is that? You asked me to do my math, 105,000 there, roughly. I've been doing the math right there?
Yes.
Yeah. I really, honestly, looking at that big a difference in 2014, unless we're missing something, I really, honestly, I don't see why we're even looking for.
One of the concerns that I have, aside from some of the items in the proposal that you have, the two biggest concerns that I have is first, officer safety and public safety, and one of the hurdles is communications. If you move to the sheriff's office, then you're required to use the sheriff's office for dispatch. As you know, we currently contract for dispatch through Union Township, and we're contracted with them already. So it creates a complication for the difference between a fire and a police emergency. So I think that proposes a logistical issue that has to be addressed. One way or the other, there'd have to be an elimination of one entity or another. So that's significant. And the other thing is, this is something that was brought up, I hate to refer back to it, but back during the dissolve phase when we were discussing the very same topic. And Claremont County Sheriff's Officer, the Claremont County Sheriff's representative, when interviewed in the newspaper, and I probably have a copy of this interview somewhere, indicated that probably the average Amelia citizen would not perceive, the perceived value of the service may be not, it may not be as well received as what the perception is now, that of a more personalized department. And I think there's a perception issue there that would have to be addressed. In the press release that I issued, I asked for community input. I'm not sure if anybody's received any input from the council, from a resident. But those two are the biggest concerns that I have. Officer safety, public safety, kind of all lumped into one pile. And B, the perception of the public. Are they going to feel like they're not getting the same personalized service through the sheriff's office that they get through the Amelia Police Department?
Yeah, that's what we're all here for. I mean, we all, feel the police department's the face of the community. How can we go about saving it, turning it around, budgetary? But we also have that due diligence to look at these options and see which direction we feel we should proceed in.
So you mentioned that you'd like to have some questions answered. How would I go about getting those questions?
Yeah, I think that anybody who has a question, put it down in an email. I've got 5 so far. We've covered 1, and that was with the dispatch and communications.
Excuse me, why couldn't we have a meeting just concerning the police department, period? That would be with our finance officer, our police chief, and the council itself. And that's all you're going to talk about.
Like a special meeting, a special council meeting?
Sure.
Yes.
Can.
I think that's what we should do, otherwise we're beating our head against the wall, I think.
You want to propose that? I'd make
Yeah,
a motion to
I'll
that
make a
effect.
motion for that, yes.
Second?
Discussion? Questions?
So we're gonna just pick a date.
Before we go to vote on it, let's talk about the date.
How much time would you need, Chief? I mean, would 30 days be enough? Substantial answers, or do we need it quicker than
Quicker than
that?
that. I think it should be quicker than that.
I'd say no more than 2 weeks, and I could have a model of what we would try to build here with numbers of people stretched out to their salary requirement. I won't touch benefits because I'm just not that sharp, and all the counties got 12 different levels of benefits.
How much time do you need?
Couple days.
If you're talking 2 weeks, that's the next council meeting.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to point out, 2 deadlines that are coming up on the village that both impact us. One, the village must have its budget submitted to the county auditor by July 15th. Or rather July 20th, but it has to be passed by July 15th. So going 30 days out, if we need to do any budget adjustments, I don't think it's going to happen. The second deadline is if council decides that no matter how they cut it, something's going to have to be done for additional revenue sources, be it a levy or whatever. August 25th is the deadline to put any sort of levy for November. So those 2 deadlines are set by state law. You need to kind of keep those in the back of your mind as well.
I think if we're looking at 2 weeks, if we email the mayor our questions, he can get them to the chief, and I would think the next regular council meeting would be, if that's okay with you, that.
Whatever's good for you guys is good for me.
Yeah, we could clear the schedule on it and just make it
Why
all
couldn't
about
we-
that.
Why couldn't we have a meeting in 2 weeks, in 10 days?
Well, you said you needed 2 weeks.
Well, sometimes you have to be pushed.
Go ahead and push that, Marine.
We're the ones that control the operation, so I say we could have a meeting within 10 days, no later than 10 days. But all we want to talk about, we don't need anything else involved at all, just the police department.
Is that going to be enough time to get our questions answered from the county?
Well, this is not going to ask any questions to the county.
Well, I mean, because I've still got,
Well, I don't think you're going to reach a decision either way. I mean, you're going
So
to
then,
be investigating sheriff's department and also having our meeting with our new chief, and then start weighing everything after that. I don't think you're going to make a decision between those 3 or 4 days.
Which we could make that decision in the next council meeting. In other words, we would have all our eggs in one basket, so to speak. In the council meeting, we say yeah or no. So my motion stands that I'll trim it a little bit and say 10 days, no later than 10 days.
Okay, let's look 10 days out.
16.
June 16th, yeah.
And what days?
It's like
That's a
That's a
Thursday.
Thursday.
I thought everybody's just looking at me.
Well, look at you.
Man.
It doesn't matter to me either, but I don't think a couple more days to have the council meeting's gonna.
No, but you got something else in council meeting.
Oh, like Chuck said, we can clear the schedule pretty much. I don't know of anything
Yeah.
we've got pressing.
We usually have committee reports on that meeting. That would be pretty
Yeah, they're not very
pretty
lengthy.
deep.
Or we can push them back. I mean,
I mean,
there's
it
always an
doesn't
option
matter to
too.
me. You definitely-
Yeah, I mean, whatever gets the decision made faster.
Or I'd like to see the special meeting that way, get some points across, and then address all that, because you're going to have more questions after the special meeting.
Now, is everyone available the 16th?
available? Well, then I'll second Bob's motion. We'll just do it on the 16th,
7 p.m.
7 p.m. All right with you, Bob?
Fine.
7? Or 6:30?
We'll send you a note.
Thank you.
Special invitation.
Please.
Any further discussion before we go to a roll call? Roll call, please.
Gary,
Yay.
Todd,
Yay.
Renee,
Yay.
Bob,
Yay.
Tim,
Yes.
Chuck.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, so there will be a special meeting specifically designed to discuss the police contract, the continuation of the existing Amelia Police Department versus contracting for police service to the Claremont County Sheriff's Office on June the 16th. It's a Thursday evening right here in council chambers at 7 p.m. Last item on the mayor's report. Under the heading of future fiscal health concerns for Amelia Village. On May 17, 2011, I sent the following email to Fiscal Officer Kevin Powell requesting the following analysis. Good morning, Kevin. Sometimes before the next council meeting, please provide a written report for the following. Based on current expenses, please project through 2011 APD funds and continue using Chief Sucre's current rate. B, what happens in July when Amelia Village receives its first cut from the local government fund? And I indicated that is a broad question, but asked him to elaborate in any way possible. And C, what happens in 2012, 2013, and 2014, and going forward after the local government fund, after losses in the local government fund? After Mr. Powell had the opportunity to review, on June the 2nd, he responded. 3 attached files should answer your questions about the general fund and local government funds and the police district. The two spreadsheets were created using the trending application and the UAN system. The spreadsheet Amelia General Fund estimates has 2 tabs, trend and local government fund. The former is the UAN information. Starting in 2012, Amelia really begins to hurt. In 2013 and out, the village doesn't look very well. The local government fund tab shows my best guesstimates for local government fund revenues based on the proposed House Bill 153 state budget bill. The Word document is an excerpt from the Legislative Service Commission's analysis of the budget bill. Both spreadsheets assume a conservative 1% growth. The totals on each statement are live. That is, if you make a change in any of the assumptions, the totals will be recalculated. Because of how the UAN exports the spreadsheets in CSV format only, no formulae are exported, only values. The numbers shown are based on 4 years' history as determined by the UAN. The 2011 total amounts are based on appropriations. Prior years are based on actual expenses. And the supporting documentation is in your council packet tonight. It's a very, very detailed fiscal analysis of the fiscal health of the village. Kevin, would you like to provide an overview?
You want the good news or the bad news?
You decide.
I'll try to put everyone in a good mood. As we were just talking about the police department, I have spoken with the Claremont County Auditor's Office. Ms. Fraley does have a very good staff there. I do want to brag on them a little. And even though they are projecting about a 3 to 6% decrease in valuations for the county when they do their next reappraisal, and can't remember the cycle, they still foresee a slight increase in real estate taxes overall just from new construction. The biggest new construction, as mentioned a couple meetings ago, is the new Kroger coming in. And you know that once Kroger goes in, there's going to be a lot of other things going in and around them. So as far as the police district is concerned, while not, in my opinion, flush with cash, it does have enough that being able to support 5, maybe even 6 full-time officers is doable without too much hurt. If you get 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 years out, it starts getting tight, but as of right now, staying with the current situation is doable. In fact, yeah, under either scenario. For the general fund, if you look down at the, I can't remember exactly how I have it laid out for everyone, but on the one spreadsheet, there's a line that says state shared taxes and local government.
It's on the first page.
It'd be on the first page of the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 years, the local government fund has been decreasing. In 2008, it was $135,000. Last year, $117,000. Based on the first 5 months of this year, we're looking at $111,000 for the whole year. One reason it drops for this year is assuming the state representatives and state senators can agree on a budget. August 1st, the local government fund will be reduced by 25%. That'll carry through for the remainder of 2011, then on into 2012. So, and then July 1st, 2012, it gets reduced again by another 25%. So basically, in 2012, we're looking at almost a $40,000 decrease in just local government funds. In 2013, you're looking at another $24,000 to $25,000 decrease. And assuming there aren't any changes in future budget bills and state revenues maintain the same or increase, we should be looking at around $59,000 a year local government money, as opposed to $117,000 that the county got last year. Most of the other funds, when I was doing the analysis, I put in an amount of 1%. For some things, that may be wishful thinking. For other things, that may be way conservative. But the bottom line is that at the end of 2012, based on the current projections, the village general fund would have a cash balance of slightly under $4,000. With the cuts from the state and the local government fund and possible other reductions they're still arguing about in Columbus. 2013, we're looking at about a projected $59,000 deficit. 2014, $123,000 deficit. And 2015, $188,000 deficit.
Is that the general fund?
That's the general fund only, and that is only basically keeping everything at 1%. All other revenues and expenditures are 1% growth. And it's just that the local government fund is going to compound itself because of that loss. Other monies that, from looking at the legislative analysis, the state wants to have sharing of services. The village already is sharing services. It's contracted out with Union Township for fire. We're debating whether or not to contract out for police protection. What other services can the village share? I don't know. The only other one that could conceivably be shared would be the streets. But who would you share it with? Would it be Pierce Township? Would it be Batavia Township? Would it be the state of Ohio?
County?
Yeah, the county, Union Township even, I don't know. You know, the Amelia sits in a bit of a unique geographic position where you have 3 or 4 different political subdivisions all converging on Village Hall.
Exactly.